So we decided what a better way to fight back than first get off grid, right? And that was the first thing, build a farm, raise our own food. But then it became a much bigger thing. It was about, how do we make this perpetually sustainable? And you're never going to do that without community. And so we set the goal. We said, hey, we're going to go build our own town, and not really like a geographical town with a post office and not really like that, but more of a whole bunch of people coming together. And I studied lots of models of intentional communities and realized very quickly they were never going to work, in my opinion. And so we decided to build a model called the intentional neighborhood. And we built an intentional neighborhood. Now it's over 2,000 acres of land. And so crazy how we got here. I met Jim I was on stage in Georgia doing a talk and got off, and we've been buddies since. And how I got here is you sent me a message saying, hey, let's get on. So
I love it. Now, it's the details that you've been sharing with me lately that are, well, for the last really couple of years, that are so empowering. So just as of late, you just had Joel Salatin at your place. And what transpired with Joel and your community?
Oh my goodness. So this is a big, gigantic question, because again, you have to, if you're going to go and change things and really make, these fundamental differences, you've got to attack every front. You can't just do it by growing enough food. You can't just do it by, getting off grid. There's a much bigger picture in this. So I asked Joel to come down and speak to a local school. So we have a school here, and some with our support, some on their own. But, this is the only school I'm aware of during 2000 and 2001 refused to mandate the masks. And they actually were threatened to lose their federal funding. They said, fine, we'll just go private. And eventually the feds backed down, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, the school's pretty open to new things. They would like to figure out how to grow their own food for their breakfast and their lunches. And so they've got 77 acres of land to use. And they contacted me and said, hey, how do we do this? And my first stop was Joel. Jim, you're coming July. Right. So we're going to put this whole picture together and really try to help our kids eat a better meal. Jim came down, gave a speech. Not Jim. Joe Salatin came down, gave a speech to the high school kids, which was amazing. Then we went and met with the administrators to talk about, could we actually do this? And we actually broke down, this is how many broilers you need. This is how many egg layers you need. This is how many cows you need. This is how much fruit trees you need. This is how much potatoes we're going to grow. So we went and did all of that stuff. And it was excellent. Toured the land. And then he just came back to my house and we partied for the rest of the day. But the school was really, really cool. And we're going to see where it takes us.
Oh, before I forget, what is the name of your channel? It's Life Done Free, right?
Yeah, Life Done Free is my YouTube channel. Yep.
Okay. It's such a great channel. So what you've got now, you have over 2,000 acres. And how do you do that? How do you build a community from nothing, from just an idea? In just how many years? 3 years?
So we really started the big push in 2000. Yeah. So I'm 4.5 years into this process. And what started, it was just me and another farm, that he had 70 acres, I had 40 acres. And we started right there. And then I began to tour the country doing a lot of public speaking. So some of the people came from that. Every time a piece of land comes up for sale in my area, I do a video on it on YouTube. And, I get a lot of heat about this. Like, oh my goodness, Tag, if you do this, you don't know who your neighbor's going to be. Well, it's already listed. I'm already not going to know who my neighbor's going to be. So why am I spending any time worrying about an unknown that's, going to be universal? I would rather have the like-minded unknown than just the unknown, because even in the like-minded unknown, if I don't even know them, what I do get is a vote, which then leads into who's the county commissioner, who's sitting on the school boards, how do I get a school to grow its own food, right? Yeah. So it's all this big collective effort. So we just started doing that, and every year I add more and more and more and more, and just continues to grow through public outreach, traveling, through doing videos on YouTube, and then also being very involved in my local community helps that a lot. And what's interesting is about half the people in this community are from here, and half the people are from all over. We have families from New Mexico, we have families from Texas, Indiana, Phoenix, Arizona, who have come in to join this quest to go live free.
I love it. And you told me a little bit ago about you guys going into like county meetings and recording these meetings. How does that happen?
Yeah, so our county commissioners, who I know very well, and it's actually kind of funny, two of them, I used to manage their money years ago. So, I mean, I know these people.
Wow.
Right. And so, but they started doing things that we just weren't okay with. And, like one of them, what really started it is they wanted to change the zoning regulations from 20 acres to 3. Let me explain. So here where I live, if you buy land, you out in the country, you have to have 20 acres. You can't subdivide smaller than 20 acres in the county that I'm in. Well, they wanted to make it 3. And we were worried that this was going to bring on subdivisions in our beautiful neck of the woods, which we don't want. And so we collectively got together, put about 80 people in a room one day and voiced our opinion and learned really quick that it made a dent because they backed right off. Well, now we're super active inside our community. We have our own political people who focus on who's coming, who's being elected, who's, all of those kind of things. And now we've just become where we're going to go and stand up for every little thing. And it's beginning to make a gigantic dent. It's funny, we walk into the room and I can just see it in the commissioners' faces. They're like, oh, shit, not today. Just not today. Please, not today.
I love it. It's like, because a lot of times they know these backroom deals and this kind of corrupt system cannot remain corrupt when the light is on it. Like, you bring cameras in, right?
Oh, yes. We bring cameras in. We record them. My county has gone from nothing being recorded and published to now every commissioner's meeting, every land and planning meeting, every single one are now recorded and put out there for the world to see. 100% of them.
Oh, that one tactic is profound in its ability to make change, because again, people do not want to be recorded deceiving other people, right? So you just take out the majority of deception with that one logical tactic.
Yeah, what's crazy is since we began this county, and I don't want to bash this county because the fact is I love living here, Jim.
Yeah.
This is a good county, and there's a lot of great folks here, but this county now has 5 active lawsuits against it right now as we speak. That are ongoing, and who knows what happens to them. And what's funny is none of them really come out of our community. They come out of engaging the local community around us. There's a big solar farm they're wanting to put in, a guy who owns a piece of land down by it. They don't want it. And so, there's a suit there. There's another suit from an employee. And so they're getting lots of heat, and, they're going to shape up or they're going to ship out. That's the choices.
That is so beautiful. And the power of the community and the numbers. And earlier you said that you already don't know who's coming in, but at least now the idea, and we just noticed you gave me this hat like 2 years ago. Yeah. And I'm wearing it now, and you're wearing the same hat, which is hilarious. So what I found as a failed developer, right? I've developed in Nicaragua, which was just a little thing here. It was okay. And then in Costa Rica, where the government intervened, and then the community fell apart because I didn't have any filters. The only filter that I had was, do you have the money to buy or not? Right? And what I found, and what I think is so ingenious about what you're doing, is when you talk about freedom, and when you talk about the combined mission and vision, with freedom being the fundamental primary element, then the people who don't like that word freedom aren't going to be attracted.
Yeah, well, what's so interesting about the word freedom? It only works if it works for everybody. And I know so many, both on the right and on the left, who say, "Hey, I want freedom as long as you believe in it in the way that I believe in it." And that's not how freedom works, and it's never going to work like that. And so we as a community sat down and we decided that there was 3 elements that we were going to spend our energy capital on. And those elements were individual sovereignty, collective security, and perpetual sustainability. And those are the building blocks of what we do. Well, individual sovereignty, let's just talk about that one real quick.
Yes.
Okay, we cannot have sovereignty if we're all yoked up on 30 acres of land owned by somebody else. And so what makes this community function, I think, so well is each individual farm owns their land. Nobody tells me what to do on my land. I'm 100% sovereign. I'll grow what I want. I'll do what I want, whatever. But collectively, we came together for our collective security. And through that collective security, what we get to do is chase perpetual sustainability. And I think that if you do those things, you'll reach those goals. You're not ever going to reach freedom by exchanging one king for another, one master to another, right? What we have to do is be our own master, and we have to be able to encourage that. And so, yeah, I think I would say individual sovereignty is the key to all of this.
Oh my gosh. So what you just said, I got the chills actually. I want to get this listed on the originsreclaim.org community platform as this is it, because individual sovereignty and collective security, like you said, it can lead to, when you have a plan and an intention, to this massive abundance and everybody winning.
Everybody wins. We just had a local greenhouse who knows us donate the rest of the plants of their greenhouse to the community because, it's getting a little bit late to start planting some of this stuff. We had truckloads. We took 6 truckloads out of that greenhouse, brought it back to the community building. We have our own community center here, put it all out on picnic tables. And you should have seen the people coming down the road to pick up loads of vegetables, loads of vegetables, loads of vegetables. It's just beautiful, And one thing I want to point out to everybody in the audience today, this is really important, is you got to understand the difference between freedom and liberty. Those are not the same thing. All liberty is freedom that's wrapped in morality. And if you don't understand, freedom does not mean that I can go take from my neighbor. It's not okay. It does not mean that. So you have to understand the liberty component of this. The only way it works is when great men with great morals, seek freedom. Yeah. It can't be any other way.
Yeah. Yep. And then support others who are seeking freedom, right? And that's your community aspect.
Yep. Yeah, we are bonded not by religion. We're not bonded by any of those things. We are bonded by freedom.
And you shared with me a little bit ago that these 3 principles or ethics or this code that you have, it wasn't just some whimsical thing. Like you put a lot of, how did that process happen?
So as the community continued to grow and get bigger and bigger, it became very clear to a lot of us that although we don't want rules, and in fact, we don't have any rules. The only rule is don't be a dick. That's it. We don't have any other rules. But what we did need is we needed some guiding principles so that what we were doing is pushing the rope in the same direction. All of us were focused more towards a collective idealism instead of, 14 people doing different agendas all the time. And so we just sat down and we called a community meeting, which we do all the time here. And we just started talking about why we're all here. Why did you uproot your family from Phoenix, Arizona and move them all the way over here to a blank piece of land to live in a tent for the first 3 months as you built a structure? Why did you, and we just started having these conversations, and what we came to, all of it was those 3 building blocks after many, many meetings. And now what's so great about it is it's just like a mission statement in a company, Jim. It's critical because it tells you how to make a decision. It is a critical building block. So now when something comes to us, because we get lots of opportunities, we're getting to be in this part of the country very well known. We look at it, does this further our individual sovereignty? Does this enhance our collective security? Does this further the perpetual sustainability we promised we were going to do? And if the answer is yes, we're going to do it. And if the answer is no, we're not. It just tells us how to make a decision.
It simplifies the process. And one of the most important parts, from my perspective, is that anybody can start doing this. Anywhere in the world, wherever you are, please pay attention to this and start asking yourself, do you value individual sovereignty? Do you value collective security, right? So start with the individual, right? And then as you get more energy and more awareness, start reaching out and sharing, right? How do you imagine this scaling globally, or at least let's say US?
Yeah, well, let's talk about my dream for what it does. I don't know if we can ever get there, right, Jim? Because and I know that herding cats is herding cats, right? At the end of the day. But I mean, I think I would love to get an opportunity where there were these pods, these neighborhoods, right, that pop up that we can attach to, because I would love nothing more than to find a link of communities from me to you where I can ship down apples and you can ship up oranges.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I would love to get into some of these, parallel economies and parallel, decisions in societies and some of those kind of things. But it is a monumental task. Yeah. It is not easy at all. It's not easy doing what we've already done. But I think to your point, it's absolutely doable. Guys, we did it without any money. We didn't spend a lot of money doing it. I did some YouTube videos, did some speaking, and kept working and made it a priority in my life and was intentional. I've used this example a million times, but why do we go out and weed our gardens? Why do we go out and maintain our food forest in any way? Even though it's chop and drop, we're still out there maintaining it. Yeah. Why do we do that? Well, it's because we want the benefit. We want what comes from it. Community works the same way. We got to be intentional, and we got to every day go out there and do something that invests in our community. And I think it'll be okay. So back to the original point, though, is again, I think long term, we pick up another county, whether it's, like the county that I live versus the next county, and then we start doing it there. Or maybe it's even better than that, and we pick up Missouri. And when I'm done with Missouri, we get to pick up Illinois. And then pretty quick, you get this chain. And, it's funny, water boils at 212 degrees, and, at 211, it ain't doing nothing. Right?
Yeah.
212, we'll start boiling. And I like this.
It's like the 100th monkey. It's like all these different things are coming together. And this is the whole point of originsreclaim.org, where we're all coming together to share what we've learned in a way that somebody in Missouri can say, I want to be the person who helps catalyze this shift in starting wherever my home is, right? I want to be the person in Florida, and that's what I'm doing by like reaching out to the local churches and helping them bring food production into their awareness, reaching out to the local school and building a food forest at the school, and then saying, okay, what else can we do, right? Going to these community meetings seems like another big step.
You have to do all of it. I don't think you can. I think what happens is a lot of people fall into this trap of, if I just grow my own food, I'm going to be okay. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. You should do this. This is big. This is, food security. When we talk about collective security, that doesn't mean bullets.
Yeah.
There's food security, energy security, right? There's physical security. This is a big topic of collective security. Make sure we all eat. But I think they fall into the trap of hiding. And then what happens is laws get changed. Something so simple as zoning, gets changed. And then that pressure becomes more and more and more and more and more. And you ask any general how many fronts they want to fight, it's one. Because every front they have to fight, they have to divide their resources. And so we have to make sure that our resources don't get divided to a place that we are completely ineffective.
Right. And then you count on the community members to fill the gaps. Some people are better at, didn't you tell me somebody's opening up, like the way your community is coming together, different people are taking different pieces of the bigger community puzzle.
Oh, 100%. We're coming down July the 5th. We have a couple, a community that has a small homestead here, and they manage the events. That's what they do. We have a lady who videotapes all of the county commissioner meetings, all of the land and planning meetings, all of the zoning meetings. That's what she does. That's her role on top of her homesteading, right? Because here we have a saying that says, we're going to do our part plus a little bit. So our part is making sure we're producing our own food. We're never a refugee. Our part is those things. The little bit is, what's the other role you take on? We have educators who are in schools now. We have the 6th grade teacher at a school right here who's super active in our community and super active in changing the curriculum at that school, right? Fighting that fight. And so, yeah, I think the more people you get and the smarter they get, the medical system, we have our own medical system here. Well, that was spearheaded by a doctor who was tired of the shit. Now it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, everybody has to be willing to take on their little piece plus a little bit.
Yeah. That is my little piece plus a little bit. Oh my gosh, I'm going to really integrate that into what we're doing here. You've met some of the incredible people that are working here. These are JSOC, like really good special operators that have made it to the highest levels in like government operations. And now they're taking that same wisdom to the field. So maybe we have a meeting, a consult, and we record it, and you can help bring us in ways that we're lacking to where you guys are at. And then of course we add whatever that we could help you with regard to food or whatever else.
Yeah. Well, actually, Jim, you'll see this when you come out to the farm in July, you're all over my farm. You should see my food forest. It's amazing. And then and every year I go out there and it's like, man, this thing just continues to be more and more epic, right? And so I've learned a ton from you and a ton from the other leaders, and I'm super happy to contribute in whatever way I can contribute to helping all of us break, those modern chains of slavery and become more and more free and reach that individual sovereignty point, which I think is what our founding fathers set out for us to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A few other things are passing through my mind. The idea of every individual taking what they've got and then doing a little bit more, that is the basis of any free community, right? How do you, there's something that's popping in my mind about people are so addicted to the foods that are toxic and the screens and stuff. Do you guys have conversations about that in your community?
Oh, all the time. We just did a big dinner at the community building. After Joel was done speaking at the school, we came back and we did a complete farm to table meal. But, and I'm going to tell you something, every salad dressing, every piece of butter, every piece of bread, every piece of everything was 100% farm grown. And so we try to do it through leading, right? Good leadership. Look, you can eat this way. We try to do it through guidance. And we also, there's another part that's really, really important. People are judgmental. And at the end of the day, if we agree that we're going to meet them on their plane, we're going to meet them where they're at in the journey. This is so important. Let me tell you a little quick story. I have an uncle who used to call me crazy. He would always say, Tag's the crazy one, Tag's the crazy one, Tag's the crazy one, Tag's the crazy one. And you know what? I'm so glad I never called him an idiot, because now fast forward, as he went through his journey, he got to a place where he came to me and said, you might be the smartest man I know. He had to go through his journey. And so just because someone is drinking red dye number 40, just because they're eating Cheetos and, ding dongs, whatever it is, I'm not going to ridicule them for that. I'm going to help educate them. I'm going to help be a good leader, and they'll come or they won't. That's their choice. And so, yeah, we have these conversations all the time, not just about food, about water, about maintenance of your equipment, about building fence, about what's the best breed of chicken. I mean, all of them, they go on constantly around here.
God. And, this other thing that's coming to my mind is there's a bunch of wealthy people out there that have completely forgot the community part. And they're using a massive amount of resources to create compounds, and then they're hiring security guards. I would submit that your situation is infinitely more secure, and you didn't have to spend your money hiring a security team. Instead, you created abundance and an idea, and the security team is building itself around you.
Yeah. Jim, this is a super important part. I've got a good buddy of mine. We call him Indiana Mike. He lives just 2 miles from me. And they moved here from Indiana. And why Indiana Mike? But anyway, they paid to have their basement poured. And then they bought all of the material. They called a community rotation day, which is something we do very regularly here. And in 2 days, their house was standing. It cost them 10 pizzas for that day while we were working, and their house got built. We've built barns. We've done, firewood processing days. We've done, just so many things as the community comes together to help everybody, just again, get a little bit freer. The teacher I was telling you about, I just spent a bunch of time out at their place getting their running water and their septic and everything hooked up so that they could take their first shower, right, indoors in the warm water in months. I have another friend that we just did some plumbing with that they've spent a year without all of those normal, things that we get used to in modern life. But the community comes together, which means it saves tons of money. There's a money thing that people don't understand. It's called front side and backside money. This is a super important thing. I wish I knew this when I was 20. Oh my gosh, if I'd have known this when I was 20. So there's front side money and there's backside money. So backside money just simply means I don't have to make as much, right? Because I'm not paying as many bills. I'm fighting I can make more money saving taxes than I can ever make in the stock market. So because we wage the backside money argument along the front side argument, we cut those costs down dramatically. Just like Indiana Mike, he's probably got a $450,000 house now, but he might have, $200,000 in land, house, everything, because he didn't have to pay labor.
Yeah. And then when somebody else needs, he shows up at somebody else's house and swings a hammer and so on.
Yeah, this is actually a crazy thing. It's kind of like homesteading social credit score kind of thing. It's not recorded or it's not kept track of or anything like that. But if I pick up the phone and call a homestead rotation day, everybody will come because I'm involved. When someone needs help, I'm the first one to go. And we have people here who rarely show up. And when they say, hey, I need help, and then they ask me, how come only 3 people showed up? Well, you get out of it what you put into it. That's the answer.
That's so logical, so amazing. And jeepers. So, and it's fun. Like this is the ultimate thing. A lot of people look at their busy lives and they're missing the fact that we're having a blast.
Well, I think they're also denying themselves of those deep, intimate relationships that you build with human beings over a long period of time. When, at the end of my life, when I'm laying on my deathbed, nobody's going to remember what kind of car I drove. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're going to remember what kind of impact I made on their life and whether I made them better. And at the end of the day, I think the cell phones are doing it. I think we're losing our connection with people. And it's such a shame. You know how cool it is to go? We just did it at the community building when Joel was here. There was 96 people from the community sitting inside the community building, eating this glorious meal. Everybody was laughing. The kids were out running. By the end of the day, there were kids sleeping on picnic tables and inside of cabinets covered in dirt, their shoes on backwards. You know, this is what life is.
Yes.
It's not chasing, I need a new house every 5 years so that they keep me more and more in debt so I don't have any choices. That's not what life is.
No, gosh. And you know, my friends, at least, I was born in the, you know, late, or let's call it the 70s. We remember that life. A lot of these kids nowadays, they don't have any recollection because they never have experienced that life. And when they do, they light up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a kid here this last week when we did the Joel thing who was coming out, you know, your typical kid today, you know, cell phones, wants to play games, blah, 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 sitting on the picnic table with his phone until he noticed the hatchet throwing station. And his cell phone went in his pocket quick. And he got out there and was throwing hatchets, and then they went catching fish and, you know, and all of that. So again, we got to meet them on their place, right? We can't demand. It's just like you tell your daughter, don't date that boy. Good luck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We don't say silly things like that around here. We just say, if you're going to date that boy, here are some things you might want to consider.
Yep.
I love it. So, you know, this is popping in my head too. This idea of people, a lot of people are listening from their condos or their apartments or their, you know, their little cookie cutter postage stamp lots. This can be done in every single situation. You just need to adapt to it, right?
Oh, 100%. We have people in our community who live in apartments and townhomes.
Yeah.
And they come out to the farms and they come out and get involved and they come out and whatever we're processing that day or whatever, and they're learning because that's the place they are in their journey. Jim, I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go do this and just write a check for all of it. I mean, shit, it takes a lot. And you got to save your money and you got to work towards your goal and you got to be willing to sacrifice. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't do those things because I knew this is what I wanted. And I'd sacrifice for it. But at the end of the day, guys, you can do it anywhere. You could build an intentional neighborhood in an apartment complex.
Yes.
You could absolutely do it. You just got to be intentional.
Yeah, exactly. Set the intention. In fact, real quick side story. Eric, who's living here now, he's an incredible chef, and he turned his little 8 by 10 foot deck at his condo, 2-bedroom condo. His second bedroom was a mushroom grow room, and his little deck was just it was the deck of the whole apartment complex or the whole condo complex because it was a living deck. And that got him, the people who loved that said, hey, I'd like to meet you. So he then created a community kind of around that idea, right, to some degree. And so when we add intention and strategy and tactics to these things, you know, it can be done everywhere.
And you know what, guys, everyone's got a role and everyone's important. You know, I've got a mechanic I trade pigs to for maintenance. He ain't growing nothing. He has no interest in growing anything, but it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, a doctor could easily barter and trade their services for produce and for those kind of things. And not everybody has to be a farmer. It's not that. What matters is collective security, and we do our part plus a little bit. The rest work itself out.
Golly, that is so simple. I love the simplicity of that because everybody gets it the first time they hear it. Yeah. And then the more they hear it, the deeper it goes.
Yeah, it is such a big part. And I have to have these conversations all the time, specifically with new people who come in, who they're just not used to how that works. And they're like, okay, what's in it for them? And what are these preconceived notions? And what is all this? I'm like, guys, just let it go. Yeah. Just do your part in a little bit. Don't be a dick. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Oh, buddy, this is so exciting. And, you know, I'm compelled to share, too, with what you're helping the world to see, and people like Theo Fleury, who is, you know, a hockey great and now a trauma expert, and Joel, who's demonstrated regeneration using animal integration in epic ways. Yep. Right? We're changing the narrative, not by just screaming, but by actually proving it.
Yeah, Jim, I think what's important is, and one of the things I've always loved about you, bud, is that you are 100% intentional. And you'll hear me use that word intentional a lot. When you get people to stop being afraid, stop it. Stop being afraid, because you sitting in the background, not doing anything, your outcome is even worse.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you get people like you and people like Joel and people like Theo and, you know, Pat Miletich and all of these guys people who you brought, you know, Marjorie Wildcraft. all of these boys and girls who you've brought together to go and do something bigger than themselves is remarkable. We just need people to join us. We need people to get aboard and say, I'm not going to be afraid anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to be afraid.
Yeah. And everything we're doing, our mission, right? You've made a lot of money. I made a few bucks myself. And we realize that it's a tool and it's useful for darn sure. But really, it's the people. It's the people around us, the intentions that we set, and the people around us, and then the actions that we take. When we combine these things, then it supplants all the other need for everything else. And it might take some time to do it, and we might make some mistakes, right? You probably made a few.
Oh, hundreds.
Right?
Jim, we could do an entire podcast on money because I wish I understood when I was younger what I know now, that money's really the land of make-believe and that it's just simply a certificate exchanging one energy for another energy. I go to work, I make money, I get the certificate, I give it to you for oranges. I'm just exchanging energy for energy. That's all it is. And the more we understand that when you make $1 and the government takes 59% of it, and then you take 41% and you go to the mechanic and you give him the 41%, and then he gets the same 59% treatment, and then he takes what's left to somebody else to get the same 59% treatment. And in 3.5 transactions, the government's got 100% of the money back. It was never real.
Yeah.
The real currency is energy.
Yes.
The better you understand that, the better it is. And I just am no longer going to donate my fixed set of energy to the, tyrannical people who, seem to think they know what's better for me. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm going to give my energy to people like you, Jim. I'm going to give my energy to people trying to make a difference. That's what I'm going to do. And I would encourage everybody to do the same.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And now you are involved in several companies that have really kind of relevant, wonderful products. Do you want to share a little bit about those companies?
Sure. So when I left the corporate world, I've always been an entrepreneur, and my wife actually gives me a hard time. She says I collect jobs, but I'm a job collector. I just like to start companies. So one of them that I got an opportunity to be part of early on was EMP Shield, and I just do the money side, the back side. I don't have anything to do with the rest of it, but that company started with, again, not a lot of money. And the guys, this is the thing, you can go be an entrepreneur with not a lot of money. It's not complicated, right? You just got to make some good decisions early on, put your money in the right place, and it's just simply not hard. But that company just took off, and now it's a big player, and it makes lots of money. It's very successful, but more importantly, it employs lots of people. It's one of the highest paid paying jobs in that county. It's very involved in its community, and just like we do with community here, you can use your business to further community. Make sure that we're doing business with the right people and in the right way. I spend more money to buy, like, let's say, an enclosure for the actual EMP Shield unit than I could get somewhere else, but I get to do it local. I get to do it with someone who's like-minded. And so the extra 8% cost to me is worth it. So anyway, we built EMP Shield. Again, it's done great. We also built Grid Down. And the reason why I built Grid Down was, I put in my off-grid solar system. Man, it was complicated, Jim. Yeah. And not even so much the install, because the hooking the positive and the negative, that wasn't hard at all. But getting all the firmware, getting everything to talk to each other, for big home systems. I'm not talking about little systems. I'm talking about big home systems. And so I went to a good buddy of mine who I'm in a lot of business with, and I said, there's got to be an easy button. There's got to be. And so we contacted some manufacturers, some battery makers, some solar panel makers, and built the Grid Down company that now offers turnkey home systems that are super simple. I mean, you literally stick them together. They've all been pre-commissioned. So they're at the factory, they're brought all up. They make sure they all work. They're all firmware together. Everything's done. They're taken back apart, put into a pallet, and shipped out. And so it just makes it easier. So people aren't so afraid of it. Because, it's crazy. When I went into solar, I thought, man, this is going to be horrible. But it really wasn't all that bad, when it all came down to it. And so just, again, trying to deal with that fear. So we started both of those. We started Freesteading, which was a social media effort, marketing effort. That's still going really, really good. But most of my time spent on my farm. I just still do a little bit because I can't help myself.
And you know what's so amazing is I reached out to you 15 minutes ago, 50, and you were free to be on the show, right? I bet that might not have been the case in the corporate world a few years back.
No, but it's crazy. I was working 70 hours a week. I was gone from my family. I was making other people tons and tons and tons of money. And I was doing it under this guise of what else would I do? And the wife's happy. She's got a nice car and I live in a nice house. But it was taken from me because of a disagreement of opinion. And all for, it meant nothing. All of those years, dude, I raised them. Oh my goodness. I mean, $1 billion
Yeah.
by the time it was all said and done. And I got thrown to the curb because I stood up to the CEO because I wasn't obedient. Uh,
Ah,
uh,
free. We are free.
that's right.
Oh, brother. Well, thank you. And I just want to ask, who is your customer for EMP Shield?
Yeah. So most of the customer from a public side are going to be your survivalists, your preppers, your homesteaders, or people who are concerned about lightning. Because the great thing about an EMP shield, it's the best lightning arrestor in the country. I mean, it can take a direct lightning strike and still protect. And so you get a lot of that, but also we do a fair amount of business with the government. They're in the FBI headquarters, Stratcom, Northcom. They're in all kinds of different places, like that too. A lot of municipalities, there's a lot of cities. There's actually whole counties out there now that are completely hardened from an electromagnetic pulse. And so we do some of that too. So kind of a bunch of different people.
Oh, that's great news. So if we had these EMP shields all over the place, it would really secure us against a big EMP pulse.
Yeah, not just EMP, but a coronal mass ejection, a solar flare, lightning. Lightning is a surety. Everybody's going to deal with lightning at some point in time in their life, especially you in Florida, right? One of the lightning capitals of the world. So it's really good at those kinds of things. But here's the other thing: just dirty electricity. It'll extend the life of your appliances because it's dealing with those surge spikes that come in, right? It's bleeding off those surge spikes. There's a lot of reasons to get it. I get a lot of, I don't want to say heat, but there's a lot of questions about what good is it if the grid goes down? Well, there's Chinese, and I don't want to totally derail this conversation, but there's Chinese EMP weapons now that, they're claiming could be up to 200,000 volts per square meter. You put 200,000 volts per square meter into your side of your house is going to catch on fire. I mean, it's not, there's bigger problems than the grid going down, but really, I have them on my solar system. I have them for lightning. Because lightning is something we deal with all the time. Yep. I've got $53,000 in one system and $30,000 in another system. I don't want that destroyed over a lightning bolt.
Right. Oops. There's another 50 grand. Wow, brother. Well, I'm so thankful that I found out about what you're doing, and I'm so excited to share your message, Life Done Free. And and anybody listening, if you want to get a hold of Tag, how do they do that?
Yeah, so if you want to get me direct on my YouTube channel, Life Done Free, my email address is on there. I'm pretty responsive. People, can absolutely reach me there, but we're also on Facebook and X, all under Life Done Free. You can reach out to me anywhere there. And I'll tell everybody out there that's listening, if you want to go live that, individual sovereignty life, I will help you. It's hard. We talk about this all the time. You want to be the lion in the Serengeti or the lion in the zoo. And I want to be the lion running the Serengeti. Yes, there's risk involved, but you can't have safety and freedom. You got to pick which one you want. And I choose the freedom side. If you want to be, live the life of the lion in the zoo, I'm probably not the guy to talk to.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Me neither. Awesome, buddy. Well, there's a lot more, and we're going to be doing this show regularly, so would love to have you on again, and we can get so many layers down this incredible rabbit hole. But our focus is solutions, right? Yep. We're aware of the craziness. Let's bring it back to solutions and inspire and empower people. Yeah,
and Jim, I want to tell you, thanks for leading, because I know it's hard. I do. I know all about it. And, thanks for doing what you do. Just keep swinging as hard as you can swing, and let me know how I can assist you.
Thank you, brother. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be chatting soon. Yep. Have a great day, Bravehearts.
Yep. See you guys.
Ciao.